Alright guys, so here is the meta gear for the year of 2022 on the class of Privateer. There are a lot of setups you can go for Privateer. You could go standard weapon like I do and a lot of other Privateers do. This is generally the most effective setup, although there are some other fun setups. You could go for Repel Borders 5, or you could go with a wand for healing range, or you could go with a follow-through axe if you're facing a lot of musketeer units and you just want that extra chain. You could do that if you really want to, or you could go the Nefarious Orb, which allows you to basically go shooty staffy, which I've seen used very effectively. I'm going to be covering all of those setups, and I'm going to be taking you to the exact places you need to go in order to farm this gear. That being said, if you want to reach a specific spot in the video at any time, you can go ahead and check out the timestamps in the description of this video. And if y'all haven't already, definitely be sure to like this video and subscribe. Let's get right into it. Manchu gear is the bread and butter of any good setup in Pirate 101, guys. And if you look in the upper right hand corner, you see some Privateer pieces. Okay, any pieces of gear that give these powers, go ahead and keep them, okay? And while you're at it, you might as well keep a lookout for other class gear because you might end up making another class later on. So guys, this is what you're trying to get, and you get them throughout the later fights in Manchu and also through 4-lot group chests. Here are some other great pieces you need to keep your eye out for. The boots and the hat you see to the left, those drop from Manchu himself. The boots are OP in farming, high-level bosses in PvE, and the hat blocks line of sight, which is more of a PvP thing, but I'll bring it up anyway. The stuff to the right-hand side, that's all good swashbuckler stuff that is amazing to have, so keep an eye out for that in case you do make a swashbuckler later on. Now, there are two ways to access this dungeon, okay? First is to have a friend who have done all these quests, all 5 of them, which is a lot of quests, by the way, but, hey, if you have a friend who's done them already, you can just join their group and they can team you up into the dungeon, which is the way I recommend. But if you absolutely have to do the quests, I'm going to go ahead and put those up on the screen for you so you can find and do those yourself. And then in a second, I will show you how to get to the Tower of Manchu. Alright guys, the next place I'll be taking you is the Obsidian Captain Blood key boss. In order to do this boss, you'll have to have an Obsidian key, which drops anywhere from Marylebone to, Current Max, which is Valencia Part 2. So any of those worlds, you get an Obsidian key. You can get an Obsidian key from doing the Tower of Manchu. They are a fairly common drop, but you do need the Obsidian key in order to farm this place. Being said, why would you farm this particular boss? Well, he drops his hook right here, so if you want to run Repel Borders 3 or Repel Borders 5, this is a really great piece of gear to have. And you can also get the Obsidian Captain Blood's coat, which gives pretty much the best trap in the entire game. Okay? This is like one of the most prized drops in the entire game. Even though, oftentimes it's the level 35 version, which used to be the only version, by the way, that people are, farming for. And I'm going to be taking you to that particular boss as well. In case you're like me and you just want to throw crowns into a second chance chest, which is my preference, by the way. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take you there, alright? And now we are going to take you to the level 35 version, which is my personal favorite aside from getting the Captain Blood's hook, because I am the type of player that would prefer to spend a bunch of money as opposed to spending a bunch of time. And I have a feeling that would appeal to some of the viewers of this video, so I will go ahead and take you to the level 35 version of this guy, okay? Now he doesn't drop the hook, but he does drop the coat. Now it does have a little bit less as far as the stats go, but guys, in this game, the powers are king, not the stats. Unless, of course, we're talking about weapons. That's the, one exception in the entire game, and even then, it doesn't really matter that much. I'm going to show you guys where to get my Assassin Strike coat. and my Big Guns eye patch. Assassin Strike is really good to get in general. It is the most powerful attack for melee in the entire game. So keep a hold of gear that gives Assassin Strike, okay? But the two places you can farm are Ssiva in the Temple of the Fire Cult in Ilios, and the other place is Talos. You might want to do Talos if you are like me and you have crowns to spend on second chance chests and you do not want to spend as much time farming. Otherwise, if you are an El Cheapo player and you do not want to spend extra money on the game, you can do Ssiva in Temple of the Fire Cult, as I said. Alright, so I'm going to take you to Ssiva first. And I will also take you to Talos, but I'll do that one after. So yeah, guys, this right here, this is Ssiva. It's the first fight that you do here, if I'm not mistaken. And I really highly recommend using charging units such as Goranando and Nazika and El Toro and units that are fast and that do a lot of damage. I recommend taking out each of the creatures one by one because these creatures hit with AoE attacks and they critical a lot. So that is how I recommend tackling this dungeon. You know, eventually it'll be like bam, bam, bam. You'll get it done very quickly. Also recommend farming in a group of 4 because the coat that I talked about is also a drop in the 4-lot group chests. So that is what I recommend doing if you are an El Cheapo player. Once again, you don't want to spend extra money on the game. However, it does take a lot more time. And there you go, guys. This is basically the same thing. It's just a dungeon, it's longer, and it has a second chance chest, which is why I prefer it, because I am in love with second chance chests in this game. I just, you know, prefer to throw my money in as opposed to spending all my time. Because, you know, I am, you know, an adult with like a job and a life and all that. I've got money, but I don't have as much time as I used to have, so it's a great option. But yeah. Here's a common boss called Dyskolos. Now, it's really common to farm this boss for a lot of eye patches in general. One called the Patch of Phalos Wrath, which gives like Morn Song for Privateer. But, you know, in order to access this boss, you have to do the quest Nightcrawler, which is like right by the boss itself. Very close, like just a little ways off. Both locations are in Ilios, both the quest and the farming location. So I'm going to show that to you, alright? Alright, so this is the kind of weapon you want to use if you're facing a Witch Doctor or a Musketeer, a class where your main way to win would be to, you know, chain and such like. Not so much versus melee classes like Buccaneer or Swashbuckler that have a lot of strength, but this weapon right here gives basically a guaranteed relentless. So, I'm going to show you real quick how you get to that boss, where they're located. They do have a second chance chest, so I highly recommend taking advantage of that. And it drops at all three of the bosses, as well as at the end of the dungeon as well. So, great place to farm. You also could get your Assassin Strike robe there. I mean, it does drop there, so there you go. I'll take you there. And if you are going to be running that Repel Borders 5 setup, not only will you need this hook, but you will also need this right here, the Manticore Sting. And that can be gotten one of two places. The first is through a side quest in Ikea, which I'll take you there in just a second. The second is through the Magnificent 7 promotion quest. So there's Axwar and there's the Dread Manticore. You want to fight Axwar, okay? Axwar is from the side quest. I highly recommend doing that because you don't have to do a huge line of quests in order to get to him. So here, I'm going to take you to Axwar in just a second. Alright, so another place you can get Assassin Strike or another slot that's great for Assassin Strike is here, this special branch ribbon. Also, a lot of other great stuff drops there, like the Assassin Strike eye patch for Buccaneer, among other things. And also, you can get this eye patch right here that gives, you know, like an extra protection. You might want to use this, say, versus Buccaneer or something like that. Other than that, I don't really recommend using this. The Bomb eye patch and the Mornsong eye patch are better. But, you know, these two items drop from both Rooke and they drop from Tyler. Now, Rooke has a second chance chest, and that is my preference. However, if you don't want to spend any money on this game, you can do Tyler. Although, I promise you it'll be much harder to get stuff from Tyler because no second chance chests, so be prepared to spend time or money on this, alright? This is more useful if you PvP, but if you don't, still, lock them. We don't know what bosses will do in the future, so I'd hate for you to have to farm all this again. Sprocket Key removes all buffs. This is mostly for removing fortresses and 3v3s. Privateers, they hide behind their musket line. If something charges them and it has a bunch of protections on, then they can purge it, and their musket line can basically kill whatever it is. So great to have for that. Alright. Next thing is the Technomage glasses. Technomage glasses are great for removing debuffs. So someone reduces your mojo, someone curses you so you can't heal, someone reduces your movement or your allies' movement. Well, you got an eye patch that can basically remove all debuffs in a 3x3 square from your pirate. Set of squares from your pirate. So that's what that's useful for. Now Bishop, just the boss I recommend farming for this. Also drop some fortress gear and some assassin strike gear for a buccaneer, mostly hats, boots, coats, and such like. And he does drop a fort rope as well. So keep an eye out for those. Great boss to farm. I'm gonna go ahead and take you there. And this here is for mostly support privateers, okay? Once again, team PvP. Pretty much the only time you'll use this, okay? And this is for the heal range. Your privateer won't be doing any of the actual damage aside from bombs and mojo powered attacks, okay? So that's all it's useful for. Ignore the fact that the weapon power is complete trash. This is the highest range weapon in the entire game, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and take you all there, so you know exactly where to farm it. It's also where you can get a mask that looks pretty cool. This mask right here that I like to stitch very often. So here we go. Alright, so if you want that extra fortress or two, then you can get it, okay? Usually I put the robe as an assassin and the charm as an assassin because, well, they are areas where the Mugir doesn't give a Valor Fortress. And the Mugir is better because it gives 2 powers. And they're privateer, they're good powers. Revive and big guns are amazing to have. So that's why I choose these slots for the Assassin Strikes. However, if you are that privateer that wants 7 Valor Fortresses, you can do that. Okay, here's one, Socialist Kit. I don't have the charm, so... but it does exist. Alright. Just so you know. And they're very close to each other, like the farming spot. So I'm going to take you to one and take you to the other, like right after. So you know where to farm it. Alright, so here are some weapons you can basically get right here in Avery's Court, the starting point. This over here is like right outside in Skull Island Skyway. And, you know, if you go over there, you'll see like Armada scout ships are like level 70. Don't sink any of those, because if you don't sink any of those for like an hour or so, a big Armada fortress pops up and you and your friends can sink that. Okay? Now, What I recommend doing for that is getting at least 2 or 3 other people to farm that with you. And basically, in order to sink the thing, you sail in with your ship, fire shots, and as you leave, have your friend come in, sail their ship in, fire their shots, wash, rinse, repeat. Make sure you're healing your ship as you go. If you keep rotating ships in and out, basically you'll keep damage on it and it won't be able to regenerate, right? That's how you sink the ship. Or I should say the fort. Then you get inside, and then you spam a bunch of crowns on the second chance chest, so you don't have to farm that thing again, hopefully. Okay? I am pretty sure cabin does not work anymore. But I can tell you right now that it used to work on this particular boss, so that's how a lot of people got their weapons. I just threw in crowns because I wasn't going to fight this thing again, you know? That's how I did it. Another way you can get these weapons is through these sitting key bosses. Remember Captain Blood from earlier? And if you want to find the location, go ahead and click on the little timestamp in the description. That is how you get there. It's in the same area, basically. So, those are 2 places right there. And we have a new boss in this game as well that has somewhat shaped the meta as of recent, particularly for Swashbuckler and Privateer. For Privateer, the main thing that they got was the hat, and that's mostly, or I should say, that's one thing that you can farm like 1 week out of the entire month. It's the Royal Jellies quest here. And that's basically, you collect the quests and you go to, what I would suggest farming would be Phule. So like Phule's Wand, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can go back to the timestamp in that video. You go there and basically you complete the quest like the first time you fight St. Bruno's Chapel, which is where Phule's Wand drops. So you collect this quest, go there, do St. Bruno's Chapel, and come back, and basically you have a key and you can farm it, okay? So, yeah, and you can get a hat that gives Battle Zeal, basically, which is busted. So, that's this little key event thing. I highly recommend farming it so you can get that hat, alright? Alright, now we're on to all the crown stuff, y'all. So, this over here, not needed. Not super duper important, but it does have an interesting niche. If you're in a 4v4, you know, these team buffs like this, they give cushioning to pretty much all of your units, 411 health, is actually quite good. 4v4s and 3v3s. The other niche situation is when you're with Buccaneers, and they have like Whale Smite and other stuff like that, and you're facing a lot of low strength units. It's also good for that, really. So I would say this is more of a PvP thing. If you only do PvE, don't buy this, because you will want the crit spams from increased will, from using a will-based weapon. You'll also want to be able to take a scratch buff from a distance, which this will not allow. So if you are a PvE player, I highly recommend not buying this at all, okay? And, you know me, I generally encourage PvE players to spend a lot of money on this game to kind of pick up the bill, but in this case, this won't help you, I gotta be honest. As much as I would love for y'all to continue buying stuff, this is just one that you simply won't need, okay? Can't think of a better way to put it. The other thing you may consider getting is this here. Not only does it give some amazing companions, but it also gives like gargoyle shields, which give like a hold the line or something like that. Generally speaking, as far as hold the line goes, hold the line 1 is probably the best one to get, because if you think about it, okay, how much value do you have from an item that you can from an ability you can bypass so easily. It's like the first time you come in contact with it, it halts like 1 unit, right? Because you can bypass it by simply walking through, right? So hold the line 1. After that, like, hold the line 2 is like completely useless for the most part. Hold the line 3, yeah, it reduces dodge. Hold the line, 5, it does give you dodge, like 50% dodge, which is amazing. But you give up too much for hold the line 5, so I'm like, I don't even consider it. Hold the line 1 is fine, the gargoyle shield is kind of cool to have, okay? The other one is the turn the tide weapon if you want the extra damage. That also drops in there, so keep an eye out for the turn the tide weapon. It's like the Grizzlheim shield. And the other one is a death orb. Now, if you have a pet that gives double tap and burst fire and Mojo Rising, and like Overwatch and stuff like that, you can run like Overwatch 3 and full Musketeer chain. That way you're not basically triggering like Repel Borders and Vintage Strikes versus a Buccaneers. So basically that's like a legit strat versus like Buccaneers and stuff. It's mostly versus Buccaneers. I don't really see it as something that's super good versus Musketeers, although you certainly could run the Obsidian Duck of Death coup and go for True Grit 3, but, Privateers have such a little agility that they're just going to be chain fodder, basically. So, it's an interesting thing. You could run it in PvE just to, spice things up a little bit. But, I thought I'd throw it out there. I've seen some people run it. I've seen some people win some tournaments with it. So, it's obviously not too trash. So, it's called the Nefarious Death Orb or something like that. But, it's not hard to miss. It's like literally a skull that's like floating up in the air and then like a gun. That's what it is. So, I recommend putting some crowns into this pack just to get some of the weapons. And yeah, that's it for the crown shop, y'all. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about champion weapons, okay? There are 5 champion weapons you can get. There's one from the Dark Sea set, which is something that is pretty much available all year round, although the pieces do switch out. There's a hat, coat, boots, and those are complete trash. But there's also the weapon, which gives a 5-round poison. I like to use that weapon when I'm facing when I'm facing swashbucklers. When they hide, you can't really hit them with anything. You can always poison them, okay? You can always poison them. And swashbucklers have low will, so you could get a crit on that, and you could do even more damage to them while they hide. They have less heals and Veiler Fortresses and stuff like that to sustain them, so that will really hurt. So you could get the weapon just for that, okay? Other than that, the weapon's just kind of so-so. The other ones would be like the regular champion weapons. So you get the flames, which basically puts a circle of flames around you. Anyone who steps in it is dealt 1,000 damage. It's good, when facing Buccaneers in particular. Because, swashbucklers, when they run over it, they have the damage reduced, and sometimes it doesn't do anything. So it's like, meh. It's alright for facing Buccaneers. Then there's like the Spring Heal, which is alright. It can heal, 1,500 health. The description says 50%. So if you lose a bunch of health, you can just get it all back. It's kind of like Super Revive, except that you can only target it onto yourself. Okay, so it's alright. It's another heal. That's the way I view it. It's pretty good, And then, of course, the weapon is banned in just about every single PvP circle. The Angry Orchard, okay? This here is busted. They all give, super hits. They all get, super hits and mega hits and epic hits, guaranteed. They do a lot of damage for summons. And they all have Hold the Line, okay? So it makes it very difficult for the opponent to get to you, okay? So most PvP circles ban this, okay? Now, in ranked PvP, all these weapons work fine. In a lot of tournaments, a lot of these weapons are banned, especially the Angry Orchard. Okay, and for Pirate 101, it's not like Wizard 101. As far as PvP goes, community tournaments are what matters. Not ranked PvP. Alright? Not ranked PvP at all. Like, ranked PvP is so dead, the only way to really get these weapons is to boost, okay? I'm telling you that right now. I don't judge you if you boost in this game, because there's not going to be anyone in the queue to fight you most of the time, especially when you get up to, like, Hero and Paragon. There just isn't anyone. So, most people in this game already have the weapon. They don't have a reason to go back in the queue and continue to rank, because it's already considered unlegitimate, okay? Alright. Well, as far as that goes, also I mentioned that it does give you some extra health. That's how my Privateer, has close to 4k health. Just so you know. But yeah, that's the champion weapons for y'all. And yeah. Alright, now we have covered all of the main gear. Let's not forget about the pet, y'all. So, I have all my pets on my Musketeer, because that's where I morph out pets to other players. I have all my pets there, where you can find them easily. So, I don't have a pet on right now, but I'm going to tell you what I usually use. I pick a pet for Privateer that has melee attacks, because I run a standard Privateer. And Privateer, being a class, does not train any melee attacks from their own trainer. They kind of need to compensate a little bit by getting them from their pet. So Brutal Charge, I would say, is close to a necessity. Backstab is also nice to have. Stuff like Rainbow Bless and Regroup is also cool, because Privateers play support a lot, and group heals, especially in 3v3s or in team battles in general. Excellent thing to have. Rainbow Bless across the board, amazing to have on all classes. So those are the other things I would recommend getting on a pet. Now, if you get a Soul Reaver, that's also good. It's also nice to have. Maybe for, like, ranked PvP, if you do that, get a pet that gives Time Warp. Because basically what Time Warp does is it gives your pirates a speed boost, as well as your companions a speed boost. It doubles their speed, and it gives them, like, double Burst Fire and double Relentless. And in ranked PvP, your pet is frozen for the first turn, so it automatically triggers it. Unless, of course, the pet has something else that has, then sometimes it triggers that. Like if it has an attack, if your pet has like a ranged attack, sometimes it'll attack the barrels in front of it instead of using Time Warp. But Time Warp by itself on a pet in ranked PvP is absolutely busted. So if you do ranked PvP, consider getting Time Warp on your pet. As far as epic abilities go, you're facing a Musketeer or a Witch Doctor, or someone you need to chain against in particular, you might want to go with Relentless and Blade Storm. If you're going for Repel Borders 5, you need Repel Borders on your pet, okay? Turn the Tide, also great to have. Elusive, great to have as well. So those are some things you want to have on a Privateer pet, okay? Now if you're running the whole shooty, staffy thing on Privateer, I recommend going Burst Fire, Double Tap, and Overwatch. Maybe even True Grit if you're planning on facing other muskets with your staffy, shitty Privateer. But yeah, that's it's a good shooty pet for Privateer, shooty staffy pet. And of course, heals and all that, because you can't use melee attacks. And lastly, if you are planning on going pure staffy Privateer, and this is mostly good for a PvP only, like team battles in particular, I would suggest going a selfish pet. So Sneaky 2, Scent Rate 3, Webs, Rainbow Bless, heals like Rally, Regroup, and such like, maybe a Soul Reaver. Yeah, that's pretty much a staffy pet for Privateer, y'all. So, I think that pretty much covers everything as far as privateer gear farming goes in general. Do let me know if you think I missed anything, but I don't think I did. This video is already running quite long. But y'all, I'll see you in my next video. Hope this is helpful, and peace out for now.